He returns to that alley simply to pick up his flashlight many hours later. Bah! A shot in the dark. He's sniped. He's dead. Today's story is a prison jail story, since you like those. It's not really per se involving me, but it's somebody I crossed paths with. 1995. Southwest Detroit, the only part of Detroit was a substantial white and Hispanic population, was experiencing a serious gang violence problem. Latin counts, Spanish cobras, killing each other. So, I'm in the county jail. And we're in the county jail in the big city. You're gonna see people that you saw in the news come in. So, we're in jail and boom, boom, boom. They kill a Detroit cop in Southwest Detroit. Officer Jerry Philpot. They flash some faces and who they're looking for on the news. Young white guy that was in the Spanish, was he in the Latin counts? He might have been in the Spanish Cobras, I can't remember. He comes walking in the holding tank in 36th District Court. 36th District Court, you get put on a chain at the county jail, they walk you underground at 36th District Court, you get arraigned, preliminary exam, pre-trial conference, trial, and if you're not lucky, sentencing all occurs over there for crimes committed in the city of Detroit. Back then they had something called recorder's court. So he comes in, and he had been wanted for maybe a couple weeks or something, so he was hiding out. And he comes in, and he's kind of in like kind of good spirits. He comes in like, some rah-rah. And, high probability he was the only other white person in there. So, of course, take notice. And then we looking at him like, hold on, aren't you the one that, wanted for killing the cop? How'd they get you? He said, oh, no, I turned myself in. Well, like, you turned yourself in. Now, listen, I'm not promoting killing anybody, much less a police officer. But, if you're wanted for killing a police officer, hard to see a scenario in which you willingly turn yourself in, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully, I'll never be in that position. He says, oh, yeah. Who did he tell us who told him this? No, he just said with the air of confidence, oh, my people got me a lawyer, and I'm going to get involuntary manslaughter. He said this with the air of great confidence. He was cool, chilling. Like, he got it all figured out. He was 18 years old. Now, Recorder's Court was rife with corruption, cronyism. Recorder's Court was one of the last, I think it might have been the last major city court in the country. Now, what I mean by this, of course, for those of you unlucky enough to go to court, you might be in a city, Houston, Philadelphia, whatever. If you go to trial, blah, 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 the jury pool and the judges are selected from the whole county. So you could be from a city, a neighborhood that's very different demographically from the county. Well, Recorder's Court was just the city of Detroit, all the jurors, judges, etc. So it was very, you're going to be able to get to a juror. Judges got ties to people, but the police are all tied in with the community too. So it was very familial, like whatever type of case you had, like the people were going to be on top of you, including the police, whatever. So I don't know, was this some lawyer told him the wrong thing? I can't believe someone telling him just turn yourself in without prearranging a deal, but cross paths with so many people that were facing such long terms, life no parole. And over the years, I guess to remind myself of what I narrowly avoided, I would different people whose name I happen to remember, their last name, I would look them up to see did they beat their case or were they still locked up. Well, of course, he didn't beat his case and he didn't get an involuntary manslaughter. He got first-degree murder. The incident was this. Him and the Spanish Cobra gang brothers are having a shootout or something with the Latin Counts. Detroit gang squad shows up. Officer named Jerry Philpot drops his flashlight at the scene. He returns to that alley simply to pick up his flashlight. Many hours later, bah! A shot in the dark. He's sniped. He's dead. It's Scott Lee Younes who does it. So he thought his defense was going to be, because he raised it at trial, a self-defense, that they were in this house with guns, scared of the Latin Counts, and they saw somebody in the alley, so they fired defensively. Well, I mean, that ain't self-defense. And it sure ain't on a police officer. So he got convicted of first-degree murder. Okay, I just pulled up some newspaper articles about this case I've been talking about, and there's a little bit more to it. So, Mr. Younes was a member of the Latin Counts, who wear red. Two young people in his neighborhood over there walked to a store. This is in 95, and they had on black and red, which was the Spanish Cobra's colors. Younes wasn't there. Some other people were there. They jumped on the kid. Kid goes home, tells his, oh no, it was a girl. Her little boyfriend was over visiting her. They walked to the store in the neighborhood. They jump on the boy. They go home, tell the girl's father. The girl's father and her older brother was 18, like a football player. They go up to the corner where the gang members are, jump on them. It's a fight. The police come. They take one of the Latin Counts to jail that was apparently the nephew of Younes. He was like 14. Younes, they weren't going to charge him. They just broke up the fight and took him to the 4th precinct. Younes comes to pick up his nephew, and they just release him to his custody because he was 18. But according to the newspaper article, there was some the surveillance footage in the precinct that they looked at after the fact shows Younes, who's an 18-year-old gang member at the time, like giving a pat on the back to the police officer, Philpot, the one who ended up being killed. Why is an 18-year-old gang member who's at the precinct picking up his nephew patting this cop on the back in a friendly manner? Police said in court they thought it was to see did he have on a bulletproof vest. Now, does that sound outlandish or far-fetched? Well, what really happened that day, so he picks up the 14-year-old from the precinct. This is it, maybe 4 in the afternoon. By 7 p.m., there's another fight. And the police are prowling around, but Philpot, it's not known, so he was looking for his flashlight, but it's not known if he actually dropped it. The police were saying they think it might have been taken or something at the police station. Maybe Younes, maybe this was all a big setup. Now again, you could think this was just the police saying this, but I forgot this part. 21-year-old male John Kolniak. Now that definitely sounds like some type of Polish Eastern European name. I guess he was a Latin Count too. When Philpot and his partner get to this alley there on like Lafayette and Lawndale, something in Southwest Detroit, this John Kolniak bends the corner. He's got a rifle in his hand and aims it at the police. They kill him, and then Younes fires the AK-47. Philpot had on a bulletproof vest, but it wasn't rated for AK-47. It was for stopping pistols. So it goes up under his arm. He wasn't hit that bad, but all it takes is one AK bullet and kills him. So, if if Younes was just sitting in his house and he didn't know his buddy Cognac was going to aim the gun at the police, if that's what he even did, and the police shot him and he shot out a reflex, could be self-defense, or not self-defense, but a situation where you're just scared and you fire a gun. But of course, if he tapped on his back looking for bulletproof vests, if they the ones who stole the thing from him in the first place, the flashlight, was it an ambush? All in the course of a single day, because two kids walked to the store with the wrong colored gym shoes. Cop got killed, and this guy Younes, who I met, never got out of prison again. The part I said about him hiding out and being on the run, that was true. It must have been, well, figured it was his mother, but did a lawyer tell his mother? Because he pulled up to his grandmother's house in a cab and the FBI was there waiting on him. That's why he got taken into custody. But he did, of course, if you come over to your grandmother's house, you know the police are there. So his mother, under someone's advisement, told him to turn himself in. Was this self-defense thing something they concocted again because he thought he was too smart for his own good, that they were going to ambush the police and then have a story about it? Who knows? Younes is dead now. Cognac is dead. 2 people killed in that incident. Like gang members of Southwest Detroit. And the only reason I mention their race is just, of course, stereotypically we associate urban violence with, depending on what part of the country you're in Detroit, black people, and maybe in LA, maybe sometimes with Hispanic, but it's the place that makes the young criminals, not the young criminals that make the place. Whoever you have in Detroit, for some reason, they violent. Must be something in the water we drink. But the story doesn't end there, though it does end. Maybe about, what is the date of that article? Well, you'll see it when I put it up as a graphic. Less than 10 years ago, he was found face down, dead, unresponsive in the cell. No official cause of death. He was 37. Oh, so let's see. If we were 18, but I did about 20 years, so, oh, that was like 2015, that must have happened. The few other times I looked him up over the years, he was on level 5. So Michigan, you know, these YouTubers want to tell you about level 4s. Well, Michigan got level 5s and 6s. Standard Supermax. Remember my father, when he was working for the city, he had to process a guy in the job training thing that had just got out of level 6. And you couldn't even read your own mail. You were shackled to the bed, and they put your mail on a reader. Like, remember in elementary school, if you're old enough, they put those, the teacher could write in marker on these clear through slides and they show them on the board. Well, you'd be shackled on your bed and you read your mail above you on the ceiling. So he had been in those level 5s all this time. Where he died at might have been a level 2 or 3, but he had been in 20-some years. So they probably gave him the flux the whole time he was in there. You don't want to be in there for a cop. And then he gets to this lower level and he mysteriously dies. And I never saw any follow-up articles to that, unlike California, which turns everything into entertainment. So that's why you see all this prison stuff out of California. It's not that California has the most stuff popping or is the worst. It's just the biggest, and it's in the entertainment capital of the world. Which is not to say what happens here isn't serious. It obviously is. But other things go on in other places. Michigan, deadly prison system. They just don't let any information come out of it. Matter of fact, a Detroit prison YouTuber, Petty Tupac Vinciel, I did a interview with him just to help him along. He was doing all these jail stories from Michigan. He was the first guy I saw doing it. They violated his probation for talking about prison. They don't like information coming out about prison and jail in Michigan. But yeah, so Scott Lee Younes, 18 years old, is a gang member in Southwest Detroit. Somebody, his mother, some lawyer, who, and the reason I mentioned Recorder's Court man shady, knowing all the things I know, I wouldn't be surprised if that lawyer told his family that on purpose to get him to turn himself in, knowing he was never going to walk out of there. There was a deal they made with the police. I don't know this, I'm just saying. Because, they'll throw one under the bus so that someone else gets a get out of jail free card. That's how it goes in these courts. Stay out of the streets. It's much darker and fouler than you can even imagine when you start being around the killers and the kidnappers and the rapers and the arsonists, the real serious stuff, murder for hire. So, rest in peace, Officer Jerry Philpot and Scott Lee Younes, two people that crossed paths in an alley in Southwest Detroit in 1995. That kid thinking he knew everything. He would sit in a house and snipe people and then think, what, you're gonna do 5 years? Narcissism killed the cat. A lot of criminals, a lot of people, some of you watching this, you think you know more than you do. Because I have people tell me stuff like, oh, this is the way it works, and don't worry about this and that. And I'll be like, no, that's not the way it works. Be careful who you listen to. If you're a dummy, the guy next to you probably don't know any more than you. Why would he? Al Prophet, American Dope, Detroit.